All right, it's Christmas Day for some people. A lot of us that do this on a daily basis, it's pretty much Christmas too. It's a big day for college football teams across this country. It's the first signing period, which has really become the official signing period for most people. They want to go ahead and get the name on the dotted line and get the recruiting process behind them instead of dragging it out into February like we used to have to deal with. But we're glad that all of you will be joining us here this morning on the Auburn Blitz podcast. Randy, already got some guys that have put their name on the paper and sent their letter of intent into Auburn. We will have a updated scroll across the bottom, as you can see, of the ones that have signed. And then we'll go over signing ceremonies for some. And we got some guys that we're really watching this morning to see if Auburn can get them to flip from their particular schools, namely Neem, Alford, and Justice Terry, and Cromah, three that we're looking at right there. But a big one early for Auburn that I'm glad that we're not having to sit around and wait on was Jared Smith from Thompson High School, the five-star defensive end, really a great player. And Auburn able to go ahead and get his letter of intent early this morning. And that was a big sigh of relief for me, at least.
Yeah, I know that was one you were worried about all day yesterday. And losing Marshall the way that we did yesterday to Michigan made that one even more important, Brett. A lot of buzz coming out of Enterprise that we may be back in the mix there. So we'll see how that plays out. But let's talk about Jared Smith and what we know. First off, tremendous all-around athlete, great length, moved over from Spain Park last year to Thompson about midway through the year, made a major difference on that Thompson defense. And he's been outstanding this year. You know, Thompson struggled a little bit early part of the year offensively. They found their sea legs since. Now, a lot of that goes into playing some of the best competition in the country, though, Brett. But even in those games that they struggled and lost late, Jared Smith looked like a difference maker. You know, I remember the first game of the year, you called me and you said, Randy, I don't know about the rest of these guys Auburn is getting. But Jared Smith, I know, is a player and one that we could see playing early. So it is Christmas Day to you, Brett. You were worried about Jared Smith. You talked to me a lot about him yesterday. We'll be able to watch him tonight, everybody. We got the Super 7 starting today, our HSA radio network. Brett and I will not be calling the game tonight. We got a million other things going on, but we are going to call the 5A and 6A game together coming up on Thursday and Friday night. But all starts tonight or today, Brett. Got flag football, now a sanctioned sport in the state. 11 o'clock this morning is 1A through 5A, 6A, 7A comes directly after that, and then the 7A state championship game. So those of you that would like to see Jared Smith play, tune in tonight. He'll be playing, and I'm sure he'll have a big part in that ball game as Thompson takes on Phoenix City for yet another time in a 7A state championship game.
Yeah, no doubt. As you continue to talk about that, Randy, I had to update the ticker already, which is a good thing. And Auburn gets another big one. Elijah Melendez, the linebacker from Florida, just got his letter sent in, and that's another big one because there were several schools pushing for him. And that's another one of those big-time commitments that's been with Auburn for a while that has made up this top 5 class going into signing day. And, you know, Auburn, if they get everybody, you know, they've lost a couple here. I think they've dropped a few. Now, officially it's 5 still, and they'll do a reevaluation after signing day. But, you know, I think we've probably fallen a few spots, maybe to around 7 or 8. But if you pick up Neem Alford, you pick up Justice Terry, which is still projected to go to Georgia, but you never know until it's all said and done. But when you pick up the number 1 player in the state, you add Zion Grady to replace the kid from Michigan or from Chicago. I mean, then you make up that ground. But again, you're not making up ground upwards. You're pulling back from what you lost. So, you know, I think when the dust settles, Auburn's still going to settle around 5, maybe 6. But maybe there's some more surprises here. I know that we're anticipating some other guys that could possibly flip here, Randy, that we'll go with. But let's go through some of these guys. I mean, we're waiting on.
Hey, let me jump in there, though, real quick before you start going through.
Okay.
Let's brag on this coaching staff. We've been tough on them. The coaching on the field and the record has not been good, and we've been tough on them, but let's brag on them here. Even when we lose a guy or two, we've got a guy or two maybe that wasn't the top on our list, but we at least have somebody to fall back to that's still a really good player and could be a good piece to the rest of this class. So we've seen in years past, especially on the offensive line, which still holds a lot to be desired. Let's be honest. If there's one position in the high school ranks that I don't feel like we're really getting a lot of bang for our buck, it's on the offensive line. I'm sure you and I are talk about that. But you remember in the past, that was always the biggest issue, that the recruitniks that you and I are good friends with, we'd see them over at Super 7 or North-South All-Star game, Alabama-Mississippi games, and we'd see these top recruits, and maybe they weren't the number one guy in the state that we wanted, but they were 2 or 3, and yet they were going to Mississippi State or Ole Miss or somewhere else, because when we didn't land that first guy, we had no backup plan. And it at least feels like this staff has a backup plan, and Zion Grady's a prime example. He's a great get. I think if we close out on Zion Grady at Enterprise, wouldn't we have all 10 of the top 10 recruits here in the state of Alabama?
Yeah, if you get name offered to flip. I mean, those are 2 Ohio State commitments right now, Zion Grady and Neem offered. But if you flip them, you got all 10. You got the top 10. I don't think it's ever happened. I'm going to go ahead.
I'm sure it's never happened.
I don't think that's ever happened in Auburn history, that you got every single player in the top 10 of a class in state, and Alabama didn't get anybody. Look, and you can say what you want to say if you're an Alabama fan, but I've had several Alabama fans that have come up to me and said, look, our class is good, but I'm worried about our in-state recruiting.
I would be.
And look, when you're going all the way across the country and majority of your guys are coming from, out west, in this day of the transfer portal, Randy, the further away from home you are, the majority of the time, I'm not saying this is for everybody because kids are different, but majority of people won't be close to home. They won't be able to be within a few hours of home if possible. We know this. We've talked to kids numerous times over the last 15, 18 years, and it's hard to pull a kid away from their home. It is. When you go into a state and you try to get a top-ranked recruit to come out, look, we just witnessed this. I know Chicago's not in Michigan. Obviously, it's in Illinois. But Chicago's a heck of a lot closer to Michigan than Auburn, Alabama is. And it's a different mindset down here than it is up there. So, I'm not surprised when we had a flip like that yesterday from a kid from Chicago, Illinois. At the end of the day, geography counts, and it wins out a lot. And when you're not getting anybody and when you're losing – look, we've been through it. We've had coaches here that ain't done crap in this state in a while. And Hugh Freeze did say, we're going to make this a priority, and he has. Whether you want to criticize him for on-the-field stuff or not, which we have, he has followed through with this coaching staff, and they do make it a priority. And I hear it from the high school coaches because I am in these high schools on a weekly basis. And, look, I'm proud of that. We've never seen Auburn dominate the state of Alabama like this. But, yeah, is Alabama going to finish 1 in the country? Probably so. Maybe 2 if somebody jumps them or whatever. But I'll take my chances at Auburn University with getting the nucleus of our classes from Alabama, Georgia, and Florida.
Well, you got to be realistic. You got to be reasonable on your expectations when it comes to this. And we've always said here at Auburn, and now can we become a national brand over the next 5 or 10 years? Absolutely. We've proven that when we put all the pieces together, we can play for championships, and there's not many schools out there that can say that, Brett. But we need to shore up the boundary here in the state of Alabama, and we're doing it. And we need to work really hard in the state of Georgia and the state of Tennessee and the state of Louisiana and the state of Florida to go and get a couple out of each one, and Mississippi. And we're doing that this year. So no, is it going to be the class that Alabama gets if you're just looking at rankings? No, but I wouldn't swap their class for ours if we close out with the top 10 kids in the state of Alabama. If you were to come and ask me, Randy, you can have a 1 or 2 class, or you can have a 4 or 5 class but you get all 10 of the best players from your state in a 4 or 5 class, man, I'm grabbing that. And some people may think I'm crazy, but in today's NIL, in today's transfer portal market, I do like my chances of keeping someone at home. I do like my chances of those kids being around their family, maybe not in the same, area that they grew up in, but within a 3 or 4 hour travel. And I do think that that's still important, even with NIL money rolling around and paid plane flights wherever you want to go. I know USC's got a commitment or got a current player on the roster that what their deal was is I'm not coming unless you make sure that my family can come watch me play wherever I am. And I know those deals are set in place, Brett, but I still think there's a lot to be said about not only your mother and your dad, but other members of your family and other friends to have a chance to come and watch you. And I hope that plays out today. We're going to see it firsthand today. We're going to see it with Zion Grady, and we're going to see it with Naeem Alford. And I think Auburn's going to go in there with a very competitive offer for both of those. They're going to have to, or they're not going to beat out Ohio State. And it tells me that if we're even considering competing with Ohio State, that we're playing big boy money. Because Ohio State, is playing big boy money. And you and I've heard that from a number of kids directly that have been recruited by Ohio State, what type of money they're getting thrown at them over the last 2 or 3 years. So I think Auburn's in the mix. I hope we close on both of those. Those are the two I'm watching today.
Yeah, while you've been doing that, update again. Every time you do that, Randy, I get to update the ticker. That's a good thing. And
that's my rant. The Randy rant's what Wade calls it.
That's it. The Randy
Blowtorch
rant.
Torch Pritchard is what is Brett's nickname currently.
Hey, we'll keep doing that because it's working. Anquan Fagan's signature in now, so that's a big one. Again, those are two premier players here in the state. I don't think there was ever any worry of Anquan Fagan's. He's been pretty solid the whole time. But again, in this day and age, until you get the letter in, you're always kind of sitting out there waiting. We did just lose one, the kid from Carrollton, Georgia, the defensive back. Ended up going to Shamar Arnaud, ended up signing with Florida State. I mean, again, I know we didn't have a good year, but good God. It just shows you right now. And he's from that Carrollton team. We picked his commitment up about a month ago, I think, or maybe 2 months ago, and, felt kind of good about him. And he ends up flipping on signing day, which you're going to have this. Now, we're going to get some too. We got some kids that's going to flip to us. And you maybe that's a good sign for Naeem Alford right there. What we just saw here, when you got a kid that Shamar Arnaud that decides to go to Florida State, maybe his deal was a little bit better down there. Would I trade Shamar Arnaud for Naeem Alford? Absolutely. If that's the trade we're going to make here. So I think that's maybe a little handwriting on the wall. We'll see. We'll have to wait and see. I know we got Deuce Knight that's going to be in a signing ceremony here in less than an hour at his high school. So you and I will be watching that one really closely. I know that's one that everybody's going to be sitting on the edge of their seat and is going to have a big part to do with where this class ends up ranking. And right now, Randy, I mean, if you look at it, there's no quarterbacks in this class other than him. And so, I mean, all the cards are on the table for that kid to add to this class from the quarterback position, which we are in dire straits right now. And obviously going to have to make the portal a priority. And we've already seen some really good quarterbacks in the country get in the portal. And Auburn already seems to be making waves with most of them. And there'll be more get in the portal as the seasons come to an end for some of these teams, and some don't make the playoffs and whatnot. So we'll see how it all plays out. But we do get Anquan Fagan's to add to that ticker at the bottom of your screen, everybody. That's a big get.
Massive get. Someone you and I know very well. Great football player here in the state of Alabama that's been coached by one of the very best programs and one of the very best head coaches that we have here in the state in Mark Freeman at Thompson High School. Just like Jared Smith that we talked about earlier. If you're not a recruit, Nick, or you don't really pay attention to high school football in the state, well, tune in tonight. If you're an Auburn fan, the Super 7 starts. You'll have Thompson taking on Phoenix City, kicking at 7 tonight. We'll have it all throughout the state on our radio network also, Brett. But he's an outstanding football player. And here's the thing about safeties, and you've done a lot of broadcasting with me. Here's what I really love about safeties. Yes, some can be good in coverage, but not good tackling. Others can be outstanding tacklers, but not good in coverage. Those that can do both are special players. And those that can make plays all over the field. And I mean, like, massive playmaking ability. Everybody knows me, knows Ed Reed's one of my favorite football players of all time. Ed Reed could do both. But what separated Ed Reed from the rest, the safety position, was the amount of plays that he just made from sheer instinctive football plays. He'd strip a football and take it to the house. He'd intercept the football and he'd go run it back 70 or 80 yards. It was always something, making plays on special teams. And Brett, I've told you all year, the thing I love about Anquan Fagans is when you pull his stat line up on Friday nights or even against some of the top teams in the country, it's not only that he's got 8 or 9 tackles and that he's defended 2 or 3 passes, it's that he picked a fumble up and ran it into the end zone, or he had a block punt, or he intercepted a ball and made a touchdown out of it. You know, that's a special safety. And, man, we're racking up on the defensive side. Let's talk about that, Brett. You know, Hugh Freeze known to be an outstanding offensive coach, and we've all got our doubts. I'll just be honest at this point. But what we're doing on the defensive side of the ball, I don't know that I was prepared for. But DJ Durkin's done an amazing job, and his staff, along with Hugh Freeze, done an amazing job of shoring up a defensive side to where they're going to be in the next couple of years. One of the most talented teams we've ever put out there defensively, especially back in the secondary. You add Naeem Alford to the mix of the young guys we've got. And everybody, if you don't know this, Caleb Harris, would we consider him our top freshman defensive player this year, Brett? He or Jay Crawford?
Jay Crawford or him.
Okay, here's what everybody needs to know. Caleb Harris coming out of that same line over at Thompson High School, coached by one of the best coaches in the state. Again, I'm going to keep saying it. And I do think that matters. So when you go get Anquan Fagans and you add him back in the secondary with someone like Caleb Harris that he already knows, that has wowed all of us Auburn fans this year, that's as good a get as you're going to see in the class for me, is Anquan Fagans. I'm that high on him, Brett. I'm glad we landed him. I know that Alabama was in the mix big time early on, but we were able to go over there and get him a huge gift.
If Auburn gets Naeem Alford at 10:30, we had a question from Michael, and we posted it in our comments over there. It's 10:30 when we'll know something from Naeem Alford, or shortly after that's when his ceremony is supposed to take place at Parker High School, along with Jordan Crawford, that's already committed to Auburn. If we get Naeem Alford, I think Winters will sign later when he goes through his ceremony. We just got Fagans. If we are able to hold on to Donovan Starr, who's been up for grabs here, it seems like a little bit too close to call on that one. If we add all them, it won't matter that Shamar Arnaud went to Florida State. I think we may have one of the top defensive back classes in the country. I mean, look, you add that to what is already going on with DJ Durkin's defense. This defense is about to be even nastier than it has been. And you're going to be adding some key pieces on the lines of scrimmage for Auburn. I'm telling you, man, defensively, I'm not worried about anything. And now we got to close the deal on some of these guys. And some of them have already come in, which is huge. But you're adding Elijah Melendez at linebacker and Anquan Fagans and Eric Winters back there in the secondary, along with possibly Naeem Alford. And, dude, this thing, and you had Jared Smith up there on that defensive front as well. Man, this defense is sick, dude.
Well, I'm going to go back to your first statement to start the program this morning. Those 3 that you spotlight there, all Alabama high school kids. 2 of them we're going to see this week. You and I'll have the good fortune, if we close on Naeem Alford, we'll see him and Jordan Crawford. We'll broadcast his game on Friday night. And I don't want to make a massive deal out of that, but to me it is a massive deal. You and I, our bread's buttered by high school sports here in this state. We love it. We report on it. We try to spotlight our kids as much. I'll put us up there with anybody. And when we hold on to kids in states, kind of the post I made yesterday, because our Coastal Alabama Player of the Week was KJ Lacey last week. And I shared that out to everybody last night, and I've seen a lot of comments coming through on the same comment I'm about to make. I hate seeing that guy leave this state. He's that good a player. And we're going to see him matched up with Naeem Alford on Friday night, and it's going to be a classic, I bet.
It'll be fun.
But the others, if we hold on, is going to be huge gets, and all of them coming to Auburn University. I wouldn't trade that. I know you may think I'm crazy, but I would not trade that with anybody else's class if you're able to go look. We closed. Auburn finished with the top 10 recruits in the state of Alabama all coming to Auburn if we get Naeem Alford and Zion Grady. And there's big time talk on both sides, and we've got to woo them away from Ohio State at this point. But I think we're in the mix, and I like our chances, and we've really worked hard here lately, especially after Naeem Alford for really all year. You and I have been in talks with people that are in communication with what's going on there. But Zion Grady's recent, which tells me with the loss that we had yesterday, that we at least had him in the background and we were talking to him and letting him know if something were to happen there. And we had to at least know that it was going on to hear all of the buzz we've got with Zion Grady. Now, I hope we close on both of them.
Well, let's go down the list, and we'll start with Alvin Henderson at 12, ranked in the state. Alvin Henderson will sign with Auburn today. He's a 4-star there, but he's ranked 12th. Andrew Purcell from Enterprise, another Enterprise kid, is anticipated to sign with Kentucky. He's at number 11. Then you get into nothing but Auburn guys. This is crazy. When you look at it, it just really blows your mind a little bit when you see it on paper. Antonio Coleman, who had flipped 14 times, it seemed like, over the last 6 months, but ended up flipping back to Auburn. And from Saraland, and then again, another player you and I will see on Friday night. Derek Smith's at 9 from Southside Selma, a dynamic athlete, 6'1", 185, 190 pounds. We've seen acrobatic catches from him all year in highlights. He led that Southside Selma team to one of the deepest runs they've ever had in school history. So really, really good player there. Jordan Crawford, we just talked about him. He comes in at number 8, another player. Man, that Parker Saraland game is going to be loaded with talent. Can't wait for that one. Zion Grady comes in at number 7. You know, Auburn really hadn't talked a lot about him. There's some buzz now around him this morning and yesterday late, getting back. I don't want to say getting back in the mix. I don't know how much in the mix Auburn was, and I don't know how much of that was intentional or non-intentional. But Zion Grady, definitely one of the top players in the state at 7. He's 6'4", 240 pounds. He's on that Enterprise team. It was loaded. He's committed to Ohio State right now, but he hadn't signed. So we'll watch that one. We'll continue to watch that one. Jacaleb Falk from Highland Home, his brother Keldrick's, man, you mentioned yesterday, has exploded this year and got so much better and is starting to be the guy that everybody thought he was going to be coming out of high school. His younger brother, 6'3", 225 pounds. We saw him up close and personal in the finals in basketball. Man, he's well put together. I'll put it that way. So he comes in at number 6. Randy, Eric Winters is 5, 6'2", 205 pound safety from Enterprise. He's a thumper. He can cover as well. We just got Anquan Fagan's. He comes in at number 4. You got Malik Altry at number 3 from Opelika High School, another big defensive tackle that you and I have seen several times, 6'5", 320 pounds. Jared Smith, who Auburn has already gotten the letter of intent from, number 2, the big defensive end from Thompson, and then we're waiting on Naeem Alford from Ohio State. So really, right now it's all Auburn and Ohio State there in the top 10, and Auburn feels good about flipping both of them.
You pinch yourself. You know, we've been highly negative on what we've seen on the field this year.
And should be.
But this is the day that you go and you say, okay, Coach Freeze, we get it, buddy. We're going to give you a pass, a couple of losing seasons, but this class, if you finish closing it out, you won't. First off, let's stop with the excuses at that point. No, I mean, there should be no excuses. We got to go on the transfer portal and get the very best quarterback that we can get and pay whatever it takes to get him in and take advantage of all this youth and this talent that we're building up over the last few classes. And I think Auburn fans would agree with me on that. In year 3, I don't need to watch any more press conferences with him talk about the lack of depth and talent that he has compared to the rest of the SEC. Not going to give him a pass anymore. But in order for him not to feel like he needs to do that, he's got to close out this class. But he and his staff have done an amazing job. I couldn't ask for more. You get the top 10 recruits in the state of Alabama, really 11 of the top 12, Brett.
Right.
11 of the top 12, and my guess is we didn't offer the 11th. I don't know that personally, but I
don't either. You know, I don't have, again, I haven't heard a lot other than yesterday and today, this morning on Zion Grady. So would I be shocked if he stays with Ohio State? No, I wouldn't be. Now, again, we just haven't had a lot of discussions about him on our program. And I don't think many other ones have either. And he's been kind of the outlier of the top 10 for Auburn the whole time. Now, Naeem Alford's obviously been a priority since day one, and they have stayed on him hard. And so there's a lot of confidence. Again, he could end up going and sticking with his commitment. He's been committed to Ohio State the whole time. But again, we've seen kids on signing day that have been committed to places for over a year, and they'll flip on signing day. So we're going to watch that at 10:30. As I drift on out of the top 10 into the next 5, again, we got Alvin Henderson at 12. Anthony Rogers, who was committed to Alabama forever, decommitted, and it looks like he may be a lean to Ohio State now. Kid from Carver and was started at Pike Road, then went to IMG, and then came back. Turbo Rogers, a very good running back there for Carver. But Randy, you got to get down to player 15 on 24/7's list before you find an Alabama commitment. It's Micah DeBose from Theodore. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen that before. Now, again, I'm not look, for all the Alabama people that are watching, this is not me talking about your class. Your class is great. I'm telling you that right now. But what I am saying is that I'm shocked that you look down and the first player you see committed from the state of Alabama to the University of Alabama is number 15. And this is not a weak class this year. Okay. So let's not spin that, oh, we didn't want any of those guys. That ain't the truth. I mean, this is a strong class this year in state. And we knew that going in. So I don't know. Just odd. Alabama is obviously in way better shape than we are in football right now. They're in the college football playoff, and we ain't sniffing a bowl. So I'm not saying anything about that. But for Auburn, we're trying to do what we think we've got to do to get our roster to the place where we can compete with Alabama and Georgia every year, because we're all sick of losing and not really being in this rival anymore the last 5 or 6 years, because we're not pulling our end of the bargain. So how do you do that? The first thing you do is you get the roster. Then you got to get a lot better on the offensive side of the football coaching. Okay. I'm fine with DJ Durkin and his side. He's doing a phenomenal job, and he's adding a lot more pieces to that defense. It's going to make that defense even nastier than it was this year. Auburn's going to get some good offensive talent too, but damn, the coaching's got to get better over there.
It does. But what do? You start by recruiting your own state and making it a priority. And I would bet that Alabama would have taken commitments from at least 7 out of those top 10 guys, Brett.
There's no doubt.
And if that's the case, and you won all of those battles, then after only a couple of years, you're able to come into this state after Brian Harsin and what he did to kill our brand. That idiot can wear a link shirt from now until the end of eternity, and I'll never go on a broadcast.
He might be the most petty dude on the planet.
Well, here's the reality. I mean, he and Tony Barbie, they deserve to have some kind of podcast show together on.
Add Galloway. Galloway in there.
Yeah,
too.
Sonny Galloway could be in on with them. But what he did to our brand here in the state of Alabama in the high school ranks should have never been allowed.
It was almost criminal. Really.
It really was. I mean, to not try at all. And Hugh Freeze, for all of his fault so far on the coaching side, there's nothing that any of us can fault from his effort and his coaching staff's effort recruiting. It's amazing. I'm still shocked. I agree with you. Said it over and over, and I'm going to keep saying it. Alabama can finish 1 or 2. If we finish 4 or 5 and we get 90% of the top 10 or 12 players in the state of Alabama, I'm taking that class. I'd take it all day long. I think it's that important for us to show that the state of Alabama is overly important to Auburn, maybe even more so than a national brand like Alabama. I'm giving you
You know,
credit.
let me just say something about Nick Saban. You know, Nick Saban was going out and getting players from all over the country, but he didn't go get. There never was a class that Nick Saban signed where he didn't get a guy in the top 10 in this state. And I'm
Not that
just
I remember.
no, because it didn't happen. And yeah, you know, you got guys and that you've been able to go out and get from California, and like Bryce, you got Bryce Young and the running back that's at Pittsburgh now, that was at Alabama. It was so good.
Najee Harris.
Najee Harris. I mean, yeah, you've gone out and gotten some really studs from there, but you didn't load it down and then almost have. And I'm not saying they're all coming from California. I'm just saying from all over.
Yeah.
You know, majority to most of your signings.
Jalen Hurts, Jalen Milrow. I mean,
Right.
hey,
Well, I mean,
look,
you can go get guys here and there and pull them in to mix with your in-state guys, but it's just an odd deal. We'll see how it plays out. We won't know immediately, but we'll see in a year or two how that plays out.
well, we've had talks with Luke, and Luke's been on other programs outside of ours, and he makes a good case. So if you want to hear the other side from Alabama side, Luke Robinson's the best at it, and he not only just gives an opinion, he shows why so many players here in this state haven't panned out. But I'm still going to sit here and not be.
Yeah, but you could talk about every state not having players.
Well, I think everybody need, there's an opinion both ways, but this is an Auburn podcast. And this is also two guys that we've spent a majority of our last 20 years in the business world working high school sports here in the state of Alabama. So you're going to get a skewed vision on what goes on here in this state and what we produce from talent here in the state of Alabama when you talk to Brett and myself. And we'll be 3 straight days this week, closing out this week, doing nothing but working and broadcasting high school games here in this state. I want those kids. I want our kids here in this state to know Auburn's important. And Brian Harsin took that and almost burned it in the backyard and killed every good relationship that we've had. And Hugh Freeze, in a couple of years, he and his staff have been able to come back in this state and show the state of Alabama that high school here in this state is a major priority. And if you don't believe it, I'm so hopeful that we have that to be able to say at the end of signing day today, Brett. What an amazing thing it'll be able to go on broadcast this week for the HSA and to say Auburn signed the top 10 recruits here in the state of Alabama. They all committed to Auburn University. That's something amazing.
Well, we're not going to be able to say it because Zion just stuck with Ohio State. But,
okay, we'll get off that then.
Okay, but guess what? We just got Eric Winters in, so I just updated every time. Randy, you keep this going now. Every time you get on one, we get another one in. So we just added Eric Winters, and Zion Grady stuck with his commitment to Ohio State, which is fine. And again, Randy, I'm not sure how much of a priority that was for Auburn. Again, I'm not cut. Look,
no, not at all.
Great player, and wish him well. He goes to Ohio State. That's where he's been committed the whole time. And I tip my hat to kids that do that now.
I agree.
He stuck it out, and he was Ohio State from day one, and he stayed with Ohio State. Now maybe Auburn came in there late and tried to coerce, but he stuck with Ohio State. No big deal. We got Eric Winters. That's the guy we've had. He's a top 5 player in this state. He's a thumper, weighs 205 pounds, big-time safety. You add him and Fagan's back there now, and we get Champ Anthony back, Randy, healthy, and you add Jay Crawford back and Caleb Harris back, and this is a sick. And then you add Neem Alford here at 10:30, and that's the one we're keeping our fingers crossed about. And then that's the one we really want to see flip. Now, again, if he sticks with Ohio State, won't be a surprise there either. But Auburn has really put a lot of time and effort into trying to get him to flip. And we'll know something here in a couple hours. We're still a couple hours away from that. May not even be on here by then. But we've got Deuce Knight coming up here in less than 30 minutes now from Mississippi. And,
let me ran away on Eric Winters for a minute. Again, it sounds like I'm going to say this till I'm blue in the face, but we've seen a lot of it. And that's the fortune of going here in the state of Alabama and recruiting this state. And he is coached by, again, one of the top coaches in the state of Alabama, and Coach Blackman. And Enterprise they will keep being on the come up, and their bread has been buttered on the defensive side of the ball the last couple of years. And one of the key reasons is Zion Grady, that just committed to Ohio State, but of course, Eric Winters. And here's what you also get with Eric Winters. He's been a massive playmaker in special teams. So not only is he a thumper and he comes in at 205, Brett, but he's got speed to burn. They keep the football in his hands on the offensive side of the ball, too. And this is not small school 3A. My safety's my best athlete. I got to get him the ball offensively. No, man, this is playing in, if not the top region in the state, the second best region in the state of Alabama over here in Enterprise. And so he's matched up with big boy Division I talent on the opposing side, and he still wows you with his athleticism. You know, I watched the Opelika game earlier in the year. You and I think had one on Thursday night or something. I had or either we were off that week, and I was able to watch Van and his crew call that Opelika game. And Opelika won the game easily, Brett, but you did leave going, my gosh, Eric Winters. Thank the Lord we've got Eric Winters.
Oh, no doubt.
I think Spence kept saying it that night. Coach McCracken's like, that boy's coming to Auburn. You know, and he was bragging on him coming to Auburn because he's eye popping from an athleticism standpoint. So, wow. Here's a question for Auburn fans: have we ever had two safeties in a class any better committed at the same time than Anquan Fagans and Eric Winters? Somebody help me that has kept up with this and has a memory to keep up with it better than I do. I can't remember Auburn signing two major safeties like that in the same class. And I'm sure I'm wrong by that because that is a need position for every class. But two of them in the top 5 of the state of Alabama, what a get for Auburn.
No doubt. I mean, I couldn't have said it better. I mean, you're just adding fuel to this secondary fire that Auburn has right now. Auburn secondary, man, it got so much better as the year went along. I remember at the beginning of the year, we were all in that Cal game. We were like, well, I don't guess we can cover anybody. I'm like, I guess these guys. And then that was when Keontae Scott was playing a lot of corner. And, you know, credit DJ Durkin for making some moves and changing some things and saying, that ain't going to cut it, guys. And some of these young guys every week just got better and better and better and better. And all of a sudden you were hearing Jay Crawford's name is maybe the best cornerback in the entire country. I mean, and that was mentioned not just by us. That was mentioned by national guys. They're like, I don't know of a cornerback in the nation playing better than that kid at Auburn.
Let me repeat what I said a little earlier, and I'd like your take on this, though, Brett. But when you come from big programs in major regions like the ones we just talked about, if you don't understand X's and O's, you're going to be exposed. And I know that's not only the state of Alabama, it's in Georgia, it's in any state that has big time college or high school football. You come out of the state of Texas, you come out of the state of Georgia, you come out of the state of Alabama, and you're playing 7A, 6A football. If you don't know X's and O's, again, you're going to be exposed and they're going to find ways to exploit you. And all these kids we're talking about are coming from some of our best programs in the state. They're not coming from some of our smaller schools, Brett. They're not coming from a school that doesn't get out there on the market and work 7-on-7. And you can say, what does 7-on-7 matter? It matters big time when it comes to the passing game in today's football, Brett, because the same, you get to see those Bows and Joes that you're going to match up with, and Auburn and Alabama and other SEC schools can see what they look like athletically matched up with those guys. But Caleb Harris, I'll say it again if you're just tuning in, Caleb Harris, a Thompson High School commit from last year. If he wasn't our best freshman player on the team this year, he's right there with Cam Coleman and Jay Crawford. And Caleb Harris was a massive get. Anquan Fagans from that same school. Enterprise High School, big-time 7A program playing in one of the toughest regions in the state. Eric Winters, go and get him. Naeem Alford, 6A. He's going to have to match up with possibly the best high school quarterback the state's ever produced in the 6A game on Friday night, Brett. KJ Lacey's going to lead this state with just about all of the records. And he's been in championship games since he walked on campus there at Saraland, and that's how good he is. He's been starting for 3 years at Saraland High School. So, yes, if you don't have your X's and O's together matched up with Saraland on Friday night, Parker's going to be exposed. So I do think that matters. I don't know how much it matters. I don't coach on a day in and day out basis, but Brett, your thoughts on that? I think when you look at Auburn's secondary, you're also looking at some guys that have
They're
been coached
tested.
up by some of the best.
Well, they're battle tested too.
Yes.
They're coached by the best, but they, like you said, and again, no cut against smaller classification football because we get great players from there too. But I mean, Eric Winters is challenged. Naeem Alford is challenged. Anquan Fagans is challenged every Friday night by somebody that's probably going to a Division I college. And so they're going up against D1 talent, and it's D1 versus D1. So yeah, they're already a step ahead. Whereas somebody, again, I'll use Alvin Henderson for an example. Alvin Henderson's a great running back, holds a state record now in rushing yards and all these records. But, you know, you talked about it the other day. I mean, he's at a school, Elba, that's small, and he gets the ball directly snapped to him on every play. So, and again, you can go over to Wadley High School and talk about the Wilts kid that's in the 26 class. I mean, he looks like a man child. He would play for anybody, 7A through whatever. He'd play at 8A. If there was an 8A school, he'd be on the field for an 8A team. So, but the point is, like you just said, to back up what you said, is that he may not be getting fully challenged week in and week out like some of these kids that are playing in these bigger schools, because just no cut on them. They can only play who they play. But it may take them a little bit longer, maybe not much longer, to kind of get acclimated when a class comes together and in the speed of things. But they'll pick it up because they're that good athletes. Like, there's no question that Alvin Henderson is going to be a good player for Auburn. He'd be a good player for anybody. And I think Wilkes from Wadley, whoever he ends up signing with in a couple of years, he's going to be a phenomenal player. But it may take them a little bit to kind of get used to the speed. Eric Winters is already used to the speed. Anquan Fagans is already used to that type of speed. That's kind of what you're saying.
Used to that type of coaching too.
Right.
Used to that type of film study. You can't play in that game Friday night. Like Naeem Alford's going to have to play in against KJ Lacey and not know positioning and lineup and where the ball's probably going based off of this lineup. And there's so much that I love about football that is not just what goes on a 3-hour basis on a Friday night. You know, even 30, 40 years ago, if you didn't know how to play the film study game, you just got beat. It's that simple. Even if you didn't have athletes to match, if you didn't know where what was planning to come. And, you know, we had the good fortune of being around some of the best high school coaches that's ever coached here in the state of Alabama in multiple sports. So I knew the difference growing up in high school and seeing how much of a difference on a Friday night, even if I wasn't as athletically talented as the one across from me, but I knew exactly where the damn ball was going based off of the formation that they come out in from hours upon hours upon hours of film study. And I do think Auburn gets that. I think these coaches get that, Brett. And I'm very happy that we're recruiting the right schools here in the state of Alabama. And the only reason that you see Alvin Henderson ranked as the 12th best prospect in the state of Alabama and now owning practically every record there is to own, not only here in this state, but also nationally, is because a lot of people have that same question mark. You know, how will a 1A product transition to the game? He looks the part.
He does.
When I see him out there with big time talent, I see it. But there's no way that you can set up a scenario that's going to be the same as what you're going to get tonight. Let's say from Anquan Fagans, matched up with Alford, the quarterback from Phoenix City, and Pat Nix, who's been an offensive coordinator all over the country. That's one of the best coaches in the entire country. You know, Anquan Fagans is going to be prepared, and Caleb Harris already was prepared a lot more than you would get with somebody that's going to play against, you know, I'm not knocking some of these programs, but you play against Fife in a championship game. I mean,
you're
Fife
right.
might throw the football 5 times.
That's my point.
And
yeah,
it's one of the best programs in the state. I'm not knocking them at all, but
it's a different style of football.
You can't replicate that back in the secondary, what you're going to see.
And you're not going to see that at the next level. You're not going to see that at the next level.
Agree.
All right, so just added the 11th letter of intent to this class. The very first commitment of this class, way back when, Malik Altry from Opelika High School, big defensive lineman, sends it in, and just saw a picture of his signing day ceremony. There was no drama over there. His table was nothing but Auburn. So I know there was some talk a few months, maybe about a month ago, that he was going to shop it around a little bit and look around, and gotta tip your hat to kids for doing that. Use the, you want to be 100% sure. But Malik Altry, the 11th letter of intent that comes in this morning for Auburn already. It's just 8:45. So, Auburn slowly getting these letters in, or not really slowly, pretty good pace here so far. And then you got a bunch of signing ceremonies coming up between 9 and 1 o'clock today. So the middle part of the day, you're going to have a lot of these kids that'll be sending their letters in. Elijah Melendez is on. He's already sent his letter in. His signing ceremony, though, won't be until tomorrow, but he's already sent the letter of intent in. So we're not worried about that. He'll sign. He's already signed, but his formal ceremony will be tomorrow at his high school, probably because of scheduling and whatnot. But again, another big signee for Auburn, Malik Altry, big defensive tackle from Opelika. You and I have seen him numerous times, and I got a chance to get up close and personal with him at Media Day this year over in East Alabama, and he's a massive kid, and looking forward to having him on this defensive line.
Massive get. You and I saw him first game this year. Made some really big plays against us in the backfield. Opelika had such a great season this year, and lost a heartbreaker in 3 or 4 overtimes to Hoover to knock them out. But Malik Altry was a key piece to that, and I thought he got better as the season moved on too, Brett. Coach Moore coming in has done a really good job with that Opelika program. He was set up under Coach Speakman and stuff. They've really had a great senior class that was 38 strong. But this is a lot easier for me to sit on here and talk about things like high school football here in this state and actually give a good opinion. I can give a good opinion on Opelika. Here's what do you know about Opelika? And then I'll start. Here's what I know about Opelika. They're hard-nosed. They're a football-loving community. Most of the time, their lines of scrimmage, if you aren't willing to play physical, they're going to whoop you. And when they start whooping you, they're going to make you like it. That's what Coach McCracken built into that program. It was built in before that. And Opelika still internally in that community feels that way, Brett. It's the reason I'm so upset from an identity standpoint where Auburn is on the offensive side, because I could say Auburn is hard-nosed downhill running. We're going to go get the best running backs in the country, and we're going to find a quarterback that can make plays, but we're going to make them run first, then pass second. So when you get a kid out of Opelika, you get a certain kind of kid. And we've had a lot of luck coming out of Opelika, Brett. Auburn has gone over there and found some kids that maybe weren't as highly recruited as some others, and they end up playing really well for Auburn on that defensive line. T.J. Jackson was one. Zach Clayton was another. We can keep going down the list. Opelika has fed our program well over the years. So this is a massive get. He was a top 3 defensive tackle prospect in the country. When you see him, we got a good picture of Brett with him earlier this year. He dwarfs Brett, and Brett's not a small guy himself, but he looks like a little old. It's kind of like the picture that you had a few years ago with Charles Barkley. Yeah. So that's still a funny one. But Malik Altry, a major get from right there in our backyard in Opelika High School from a football-loving community. It's a massive get for Auburn.
Absolutely. No doubt about it. Let's update some signing ceremonies that'll be coming up that we'll be watching here. The next up is Deuce Knight at 9 o'clock. Again, that'll be happening here in about 10 minutes. So a lot of talk there, and we'll be talking either excited that we added one of the best quarterbacks in the country to our signing class, or we're going to be over here and wondering what the heck we're going to do if we're even going to have a quarterback next year. I mean, not saying that he's going to come in and start, but we're losing Holden Gerner, which not shocked in the portal there. Hank Brown's still there. Peyton Thorne has gone. Got to go out and get a portal quarterback. It's 100%. You got to go get one. You got to go get a good one. But we'll watch Deuce Knight, Alvin Henderson, which we've been talking about here for the last 10 or 15 minutes at 10:30. Broderick Shull will, along with Jacaleb Falk at 11 o'clock, and then Blake Woodby and Kyle Ellis, Kale Ellis at 1 p.m., Jacoby Ward at 2:15. And you've got some guys that have already sent their letters in that will be signing officially, like Ty Buster and Ryan Gee and Devin Williams will be later on tonight. And then Donovan Starr, who it's up in the air right now, has pushed his signing ceremony to Friday now. So he hasn't, again, is that good or bad? Whatever. I don't know. But we'll see. But the next one up for us that we're watching extremely closely is going to be this Deuce Knight signing ceremony at 9 o'clock. So let's hope Auburn gets some good news there. It's really down to Auburn and Ole Miss at this point. And, again, kind of a good opportunity to talk about Deuce Knight and why this is even close right now, Randy, is because, and you and I talked about this several weeks ago, if Auburn would have just won some more games, if they would have just won a few more games, the Missouri game, the Arkansas game, or the Cal game, and the record would have been better and we'd be bowl eligible. I don't even think there's any drama to this at all. It's one of the deals that you look at from a standpoint of we've made this into some type of drama fest with the lack of productivity on the offensive side of the football. So I think I'm gonna roll the dice and say we hold on and we keep Deuce Knight in this class. But you never know about Lane Kiffin and what Ole Miss, and he is from Mississippi. Again, it goes back to geography at the end of the day. Does he stay at home in state, or does Auburn pull this out at the end?
Well, let me spin this a couple of different ways. And first off, everyone out there that's tuning in, Brett and I are going to be on until that signing and give a little take on that signing. We'll probably sign off at that point, and then we'll come back this afternoon, Brett, maybe in the middle of some of those announcements that are going on, and give our take, and also give a couple of updates on the HSA side as we get set for the 7A state championship game tonight here on the HSA radio network. Tune in. Brett, I still haven't made that post. I need to do that here shortly, but how many radio stations do you end up getting? I know I'm veering off.
Well, I think we got now 21 on the network now. So again, we were at 17, 18 yesterday, and we added some more late. So I think we're right there at, somewhere around 2021. Travis comes in and says, yes, I'm seeing Deuce has a Auburn jacket on right now. So is that good or bad? Is this one of those where you wear it in there and you take it off and you got an Ole Miss sweatshirt? Again, that's a good sign, I would say. I'll go ahead and say that. Maybe there's not much drama to this at all. He's made Auburn fans sweat a little bit for sure because he's visited Ole Miss, a couple of times. He was at that Georgia game where Ole Miss was able to knock off Georgia, and he was at the Egg Bowl. So he's been at some pretty good environments for Ole Miss, and I know they've been pulling hard for there. So Travis said he's got a white button down underneath the jacket. So unless he's going to pull a Superman and take the jacket off and take the white shirt off, we will have, hopefully here in a few minutes, we'll have his letter of intent.
All right, back to my take, though. Very hopeful that we finish up and close on him because we put a lot of effort in, and I'm sure the offer's really high. You're not going to get an offer with a top 5 guy like him and not be willing to give what others are giving.
Right.
I'm sure Ole Miss has come in really strong here as of late too, and with their strong play on the field. But here's a little bit better take on this from my standpoint. Whatever it takes for Auburn to have enough in the nest egg this year to go out and spend what we need to spend on whoever we deem as a quarterback for either 1 year or the next 2 years to try to right this ship is the most important thing to me.
Just so everybody can see it.
It looks highly Auburn to me, and So that's going to be a big get if we finish it. But back to my point, though, Brett, I really hope that we close on that one. But no matter what we do there, I don't expect that young man to come over here and save the day for us within
a
6-month span. Can he?
He could.
There's been some others that can't that have. He could. But I think you're taking a major risk if you don't go out there in the transfer portal in year 3 for Hugh Freeze and not get someone that you feel real confident can get it done, Brett. And so that's going to take a lot of money, I'm sure. It's going to take more money than we were willing to give Cam Ward last year. And you see what we've gotten by not giving that money to Cam Ward.
Yeah.
Give that money to Cam Ward, I think Auburn's probably sitting here in the conversation at least with that 9-3 group. Now, do I think that he would have taken us to Cam Newton-esque, a 2010 year? I don't know. I've watched him enough to know that he's pretty special, but you can't mess that up in year 3 for Hugh Freeze. We're going to give you a pass in year 2 for messing that up, but that can't be messed up this year. So no matter what happens here in the next 5 minutes, we still got to go out there and
you're gonna have to
be really, really confident that we got the right person at the helm at quarterback next year.
Travis said he'd love to see John Mateer, the kid from Washington State, and his numbers are unbelievable. And again,
hey, you know why they're unbelievable to me, Brett?
Why is
His
that?
passing numbers are unbelievable, but I think we are at our best. You'll know
Groundhog Day run the football
900 yards rushing for him this year.
Yeah, he can get after it, man. Hey, in Washington State, people can say what the heck they want to do, but Cam Ward came from Washington State, and they just plugged one more right back in behind him.
Great system.
It is a great system. So, look, I think Mateer definitely is a guy that Auburn needs to look at and be in serious conversation with, because it absolutely he fits the mold that you've talked about ad nauseum. That guy that can throw, but also he can get it done with his legs, and that's when Auburn's at its best, like you said. When we have a true dual threat quarterback, and that guy is a true dual threat quarterback, man, in major college football when you put numbers up like that.
900 yards rushing. I said the magic numbers, anywhere between 700 and 900 yards rushing by your quarterback is something you need to go try and do year in and year out. And I think those guys are out there. Now, are there many Nick Marshall type quarterbacks out there? I think that's what's coached in high school ball more than pocket passing's coached in high school ball these days. So I think there's more great athletes that are becoming quarterbacks than in the past would have ended up being a running back or a receiver. So I do think there are more options and more eyes that go toward that type of player. And I've never understood why Gus Malzahn went the opposite direction with that.
Well, he completed 65% of his passes on 347 attempts and 3,100, almost 3,200 yards passing with 29 touchdowns and only 7 picks. And then, like you said, officially his rushing totals 178 carries for 826 yards. So that includes some, sack stuff and all in there.
Still, there's the number you're looking for, Brett.
Yeah, it is 15 rushing touchdowns. Okay. To go along with 29 passing touchdowns. That guy, I mean, I had somebody just text me and say, what's his size? I think he's 6'1", 6'2", weighs about 215 pounds.
Yeah,
somewhere.
He's well put together.
That's what I'm saying. So, I mean, he's a solid guy. Obviously, he's proven he's from Texas. So he knows how to, look, he's a guy. Ed said Ewers or Manning could be available, but then NIL might be a little bit hit. One of those two is going to be, I think. And that's a good, as Deuce Knight, will sign here in just about 2 or 3 minutes at his signing ceremony. But we talked about this the other day. Quinn Ewers, if however this season ends, the Mannings are probably, they've been patient and, rightfully so. And Quinn Ewers is playing because obviously Steve Sarkisian feels like he's the best quarterback right now on that roster. But Arch Manning is getting better and better. And this will be year 3 coming up for him. It's time for him to play somewhere, man. He doesn't need to be behind somebody else. So if Quinn Ewers and Sarkisian decide that they want to stick together one more year, then I would assume Arch Manning would finally get in the portal. But if it's the other way around and Quinn Ewers says, look, I'll leave, I'll go market myself, I'll go make me some money 1 year somewhere, and Arch Manning can take over because he'll have a couple more years left, then they may work that out too. But I'm with Ed there. One of those two is going to be available as well. So, I think we'll have to have a little patience. You don't want to jump, but there's some guys out there already like Mateer that you would take in 2 seconds.
I'd take either one of them. I'm not just going to go on a rant like I did and not go back to I'd rather have Manning and Mateer than I would Quinn Ewers, and I'm not knocking him. I just think we're at our best when we've got somebody
there's no doubt
that can downhill power run. And Arch Manning's that, man. That guy's his granddad. My son talks about that. He said, Eli and Peyton couldn't run like Arch. I said, no, but you go watch his granddaddy. Go watch Archie run around the field. I said, you'll see where his athleticism comes from if you go check him out. He looks the imps of him, other than he's a little bigger, but he can really run, and he's a great all-around athlete. So I'd take him. I'm sure Alabama's going to be after him too. They're going to be after either of these guys too. I bet Alabama's really aggressive in the portal this year. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's my guess. But we're going to need, back to the reason we're on this rant, is because we're going to need to stockpile some money to make sure that we don't lose a Cam Ward because of money, like we lost him to Miami this year. We got to go get that guy. But here in the next couple of minutes, we're going to know whether we got our guy from the high school ranks. And this is the guy that we've been, since Juju Lewis dropped off, right. 4 or 5 months, 6 months ago. I can't remember exactly when.
Right.
When the conversation left from him, we wanted Deuce Knight since then. So very important that we close the deal right here.
Yeah, no doubt. Ed said, Brett, you just said it. We have to quit settling for just anyone. Just swing, but swing big. You got to, man. You got to go get the best out there. I mean, and you got to put the money up. We've all been talking about that. And you're right, Randy. I mean, we'll know here in a few minutes that whether we got our guy. Look, we went in there and coerced him away from Notre Dame now. He'd been a long time Notre Dame commitment. And we worked on him and worked on him and worked on him.
That had to be hard too, because I love Marcus Freeman.
Well, and he had a good relationship. It was hard. I mean, we talked with Jason multiple times, Caldwell, and Jason said, look, man, I think the kid's genuinely torn. He said, I think he loves Auburn, but he's got such a good relationship with his coach and everybody up at Notre Dame that, it's not easy to just call somebody and say, hey, I'm going to change my mind. I mean, there's a lot of pressure on these kids to do that sometimes. And we kind of just pass it off and say, okay, we'll just do, why don't we just go ahead and do it? And then because there's some relationships built. So those do still exist out there. Okay. I know it's hard for some people to believe, but there are relationships. And I do like it that kids buy into guys and that they feel confident with some guys, but he obviously feels really, really good about Auburn's situation too. And he's got a lot of close friends in this recruiting class, Alvin Henderson being one of them, and several of these other guys. So we'll see here in just a minute. We're monitoring this like everybody else is. So, we're past the 9 o'clock hour and he's in the gym. And so we'll be knowing something here soon.
But let's talk about him just a little bit, Brett. Big left-handed quarterback, 6'4", 6'5", long, rangy, able to do a little bit of anything with the ball, and big-time arm talent downfield from getting the ball down the field with ease, throwing motion. That's what you're getting right here. I mean, he's going to wow you with his arm talent. So hopefully we get a finish. We get a finalized verdict on what happens here with Deuce Knight, and I'll kind of ran along and hope that you get that. But just to fill in this last hour of the program, here are the highlights. The state of Alabama has been owned by Auburn this year. Alabama is doing a tremendous job of recruiting nationally. 1 or 2 ranked class, probably going to finish number 1. So we're not knocking Alabama's class by no means, but Brett and I went on and on over the last hour of how happy we are with the efforts of Hugh Freeze and this staff here in the high school ranks for the state. Auburn did not close with Zion Grady like we'd maybe hoped, but it looks like Auburn's got a tremendous chance if they do close with Naeem Alford to finish with 9 of the top 10 recruits here in the state of Alabama and 10 of the top 12 recruits here in the state of Alabama.
Yeah, when you add Alvin Henderson in there, and
that's right.
Again, still a day that you and I have never seen. I mean, we've never seen, an Auburn class go in and pretty much lock down 90% of the top 11 or 12 guys in the state. Been a solid morning so far. As you can see, scrolling across the bottom of the screen, those are the guys that have sent their NIL in. Again, we're still waiting on some signing ceremonies. But again, Jared Smith was right out of the gate for me this morning, which I was very happy to see. And then we followed that up with Anquan Fagans and Eric Winters. Also, another big one was Elijah Melendez from Florida, that a lot of people were speculating on whether he would stick with Auburn or not. He did. Most of these defensive guys are not wavering, Randy. They're not. I mean, this is not anything that is shocking to me, though, because when you look at what DJ Durkin has done this year and how he's coached this team up and how our guys got better as the year went on, we always talk about development. If I'm a defensive guy, I can't wait to get to Auburn, man.
It's the crazy part of where we live as Auburn fans. I mean, it really is wild that we go and I'm not trying to go negative here on what looks to be a very positive Auburn football day, but how Auburn keeps going and hiring these head coaches that are known for their great offensive mind and great offensive ability. And we put a good product on the defensive side, and we're recruiting out of our mind on the defensive side, and the offensive side still yet to be seen. It's crazy, isn't it, Brett? I mean, the last 3 coaching hires that Auburn's had has been solely on, we know when we bring that guy in, we're going to clean up what's going on offense.
You're exactly right. And, if there is one area of concern for this class, maybe it's still in the offensive line.
It is the offensive line.
So the offensive line is still a little deficient there. I mean, now we look to have, maybe 3 guys coming back on this offensive line from this year. And look, you can say what you want to, and is that good or bad and all that? It's good when you can return 3 of your 5 starters. And Auburn wasn't bad up front, especially running the football. And, who knows on the pass blocking? I mean, I can't – look, I'm not going to get on here and bash Peyton Thorne, but I don't know what he saw and the time that he had to throw. And, he made bad decisions anyway when he had time to throw, I thought. So, I'm not throwing that all on the offensive line, but, I mean, when you get Connor Lew and Dylan Wade and Jeremiah Wright back and, like Travis said right here, we got to get tackles. I think that's probably the biggest thing to look at.
Do you have any guess why we recruit offensive linemen so poorly at Auburn?
I don't have an answer for that. I don't think anybody does, man. I mean, no, I don't have an answer for it. I mean, obviously Auburn's going to go out in the portal and get some tackles. You don't see any really in this, the interior. I mean, we've got 3 interior linemen that have already signed. But again, we got to get some tackles, man. We got to get some tackles, and it looks like you're going to have to do that in the portal, and that's fine. You want to go get some guys out of the portal that have already played somewhere. I'm going to throw a random – I'm just throwing this out there. Toledo or somewhere like that. We've seen guys come out of those schools and be really good players, and we've done it before, and, they're serviceable.
We've seen them be very average too.
Well, we have, but you can go get some out of there. And if that's the route you got to go, then there's going to be some that get in the portal. Obviously, the kid that we got from Mississippi State didn't work out. That was Percy Lewis. Yeah, he didn't work out. I mean, if anything, it was awful. And so, but again, they're going to have to go do that again. They're going to have to go get a couple of tackles. So as we're watching the live feed here, he hasn't He said War Eagle on the camera here. So he's got an Auburn jacket on. I don't think there's going to be really much drama to this, guys. I think Deuce Knight's going to get this done, and I think he'll be an Auburn Tiger shortly here when the national letter of intent comes in.
How many signees do they have for that school, Brett? Is there a number of them, or is it just him?
Well,
up
it's
there?
just a camera on him right now, so
Got it.
hard to tell. And he's
So it's
taking
not one of those schools where you got 20 of them,
right
all
now,
in the gym together.
Well, they could, but it's so
Yeah.
tight on him. It's like me and you.
Got it.
I can't see anything really past him, and he's taking comments right now from his online feed. I think he's up on his social media, maybe his Instagram account. As I see, I've got it muted here, obviously, because we don't want the interference coming in. But I'm sure most everybody that's watching us is watching this too, and I'm sure they got some other guys over there at that school. I mean, it's been a good program, George County, and I think he just picked up an Auburn hat and showed to the screen. I don't think there's going to be any of this pull out an Ole Miss hat. Again, I want to repeat, he was a Notre Dame commitment. He was a Notre Dame commitment for a long time. And Auburn worked hard to get him away. When Auburn felt like the Juju Lewis ship had sailed, or they couldn't come to an agreement on what terms they wanted, the shift was immediately to Deuce Knight. He was the priority. And they worked him hard and got him to decommit from Notre Dame, and he committed to Auburn, and he's been with Auburn for a while now, at least the last several months. And then, again, with some of the horrific play offensively, we've made this maybe more into something than it should have been. But I think at the end of the day, Auburn's going to hold on. I said that when we came on the podcast this morning. I said if I had to bet, I'm gonna roll with Auburn sticking or him sticking with Auburn. So it looks like that's what's going to happen here in a few minutes.
Hopefully we will know that here shortly. Brett, you got a happy dog there behind you.
Yeah, just making sure he ain't tearing something up.
Don't let him tear up that room in there. But we want to thank all of you for tuning in. Our podcast, if you're just finding us this morning, Brett and I go on with a podcast every morning at 8. Really started this about a month ago on the Auburn Blitz side, and we're going to keep on with this, and we'll probably do a little bit more this week on the high school side, as he and I will be very busy with the HSA radio network this week. Just a quick note out there, flag football, now a sanctioned sport for the state of Alabama, starts today. You stop me whenever he commits over there, Brett.
Yeah, we're watching. I'm watching. You keep rolling.
I'm going to ran away and hope that the good graces I'm sending your way is going to continue on right here. But 11 o'clock, flag football, 1A through 5A. Got a great matchup, Brett. What a year for Moody High School. Moody's taking the flag football girls to a state championship, and they'll play Montgomery Catholic. And the boys are going to play for the state championship tomorrow night.
How about
on the boys' side? That tells you how great athletically that school's doing right now. And then 6A, 7A. Got the number one team in the country by the USA Today in Central Phoenix City that's riding a 36-game winning streak into the championship game this afternoon at 3 o'clock. They've got one of the best players, if not the best player in the country, probably back there at quarterback for them, and Garrett Griggs. She's a University of Alabama softball commitment. She's a great all-around athlete. They got Allie Supan. I can keep going, man. They've got them, and you've talked to their coach this week, and there's no shock what they've built over there at Phoenix City, and they'll take on a really strong athletic program in Spain Park, who's 17-1-1 on the season. So you've got an 18-0 Central Phoenix City taking on a 17-1-1. That one kicks at 3 o'clock. And then tonight, the nightcap of day one of the Super 7 is going to be Thompson High School taking on Phoenix City with a rematch of many, many years. Two of the very best coaches in the country, and Mark Freeman and Pat Nix going head-to-head. Coaching-wise, both of these teams have had some losses on the season, but both seem to be playing their best football in a very tough region that they're coming out of, both 10-3.
All right, he's got a mic in his hand now. So John said, what am I watching? I'm watching Deuce Knight's signing ceremony, John, and I'm hoping that he puts his name. I hope he says Auburn. He's got Auburn jacket on. So we're all watching that too. And appreciate it, Travis. Travis said first time seeing us and really enjoying it. Well done. We appreciate that. Hey, we want to remind everybody to subscribe to our YouTube channel. He just made it official. He just put the Auburn hat on. All the drama's over. Deuce Knight is an Auburn Tiger, and I'll pause and gladly add him to the ticker, guys, down here at the bottom. So we can go ahead and take care of that. Deuce Knight, Randy, is an Auburn Tiger, and a big relief for Auburn fans. Maybe the coaches didn't really think there was much drama there, but, for the most part, we went ahead and followed that from the start here on the Auburn Blitz podcast, like everybody, and we got him. Deuce Knight is an Auburn Tiger. Can't wait for him to get on campus. He does have a dynamic arm. He can run. He's a big kid. He is what this team needs. This is a no-brainer quarterback, okay, as I'm watching highlights right now. He is a no-brainer. That, everybody goes, well, we get that guy and he comes over here, may not pan out. No, this is if he doesn't pan out here, then this strictly on coaching. I mean, this kid has everything you want as a big-time Division I college quarterback, and he's already a guy that you'll say in a few years is a no-brainer pro. No doubt.
Long as you develop him. And look, Auburn, the only thing you can ask for from a recruiting standpoint is to get talent in that you can develop. That ceiling's very, very high, and I agree with Brett. The more that I watch him, the more that I go, it's our own fault if this guy doesn't turn into a star at Auburn. Major get. Have we had a bigger high school quarterback commitment? I'm talking about from a rating standpoint than Deuce Knight in program history. We've had some good ones, but help me out there. Has one ever been higher than Deuce Knight that we've had committed out of the high school ranks?
And I'm trying to
sure. Now, we had some transfer. Cam Newton was massive. I mean, we know that. All of us know that. Pat Sullivan's high school rankings, and he would have been because everybody wanted him out of John Carroll High School. So maybe we've had some others. Pat Washington was a major recruit, wasn't he, Brett, in the early 80s?
Pat Washington was a huge recruit for Auburn.
Yeah, I think I remember that. So this is before, in today's world where so many of us are sitting on here for 2 hours to start our morning on signing day because it's a national holiday. It's become that. And it's been going on that way for the last 20 years. But Deuce Knight, what a get for Auburn. What a great job by this coaching staff to close on the one that they decided was their guy. And hopefully this is a sign of better days to come. I can tell you it's the right start.
Well, let's just be honest about it. I mean, it's got to change next year. Look, this is 2 outstanding years of recruiting. I don't know where this class is going to end up. It's going to be a definite top 10, but it's going to be more around top 5 or higher. And I'm going to tell you, your roster now is looking like a major SEC roster again. It took 3 years, guys. Let's be honest about this. Brian Harsin took 2 years off.
And Gus Malzahn.
And Gus Malzahn had petered out. Let's be honest about it. People, we had NFL writers and people talking about the offensive line. The reason he can't get offensive line recruits is because of the system and all. He had the confidence was gone with Gus, and that's why Auburn moved on from Gus. And then you go out, and I don't know what Auburn was thinking with Allen Green or Brian Harsin, but they were both disasters. And then you look at it from a standpoint. I mean, I want to go back and just add one more disastrous note to Allen Green's tenure. He tried to get Bruce Pearl to admit a bunch of junk in a press conference and step down and take a leave of absence there for a minute. I mean, just go ahead and destroy what we got really going good for us right now. It was almost like the daggum guys were brought in to destroy Auburn's athletic program. That's how bad of decisions they made. This almost gets you to the point where you're thinking conspiracy theory, somebody paid them and planted them here to destroy our program. But nevertheless, it's taken, I will say this, Hugh Freeze, and I'm not going to give him an excuse because obviously DJ Durkin's been getting it done on the defensive side of the ball, but he may have been so dang consumed, Randy, with building this roster and trying to get it back that the coaching on the field took a hit. Now, we've talked about his issues of maybe not putting the work in and stuff like that, but I'm just throwing speculation out there that he is now building a roster that you can go say, you can't use that as an excuse anymore, coach. You got players, and you got them in every position. And if you go get a couple of good tackles out of the portal, as we saw up here, I had a comment earlier, talked about some of the higher paid NIL guys in the portal right now are tackles, and because they're that valuable. So you get those and you add them in. Randy, you got to win next year, man. You got to win 8 games. You better win 8 football games next year, and you better show massive improvement. Again, the one positive thing is that Auburn wasn't blown out this year in any game. And that was mainly because the defense played so well. It wasn't because the offense helped, but Auburn was in all of these football games. So this is not 11 or 12 where you got your doors blown off. I mean, you're competing on the road against some really good teams. Now you got to put it all together. Now you got to win those games. Now you got to get over the hump, because you're not going to continue to get classes like the ones that we had last year and this year if you can't start turning it around on the field.
I can't add anything to that. I think you're dead on. And these are guys he's chosen. I say that all the time, even back to coordinators and coaches. You're a head coach and you've been there for a few years. The guys that are on your roster you chose, and the guys that are coaching them up you chose. So stop with the excuses. And we keep saying it with Hugh. I've seen enough press conferences letting us know how far we were behind, but in year 3, no more of that. We don't need to hear it. And the reason we don't need to hear it's his strong effort, though. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt. We've been pretty hard on him, and Auburn fans have been really hard, and for good reason. We got 4 consecutive losing seasons and 5 straight losses to our rival in Alabama, which is becoming less of a rival to Alabama because they beat us every year. And we're becoming less of a rival to Georgia because they beat us every year. And we got to fix that. And the guys that we're getting today and the ones that we got last year, I think they want to fix that. And now we need the coaches to step up and produce wins on the field. But a great day today, and a great get right there over the last few months in Deuce Knight. And tip your hat to this coaching staff and Hugh for what they're doing on a day like today in recruiting.
John said, what high school is Deuce Knight from? He's from George County, Mississippi. So a big time high school over there. Czach said Hugh better win 9 regular season games next year. Again, this is not a daunting schedule. Okay.
It wasn't this year either, though.
It wasn't. Well, that's my point. Again, so it's almost a do-over, Randy. This is not like you rolled out of an easy schedule and now you're going into some gauntlet. Okay. You just flipped everything. You got to go to Oklahoma. You got to start off with Baylor on the road, which has gotten way better as the year's gone on. That team's gotten much better. But this is not some unbelievably tough schedule. And so you got very winnable games. I mean, let's be honest about it. The Cal, the Arkansas, the Missouri, and the Oklahoma games should have been wins for Auburn this year. If you play half-ass on offense, you win those games, okay? And we didn't. So I know woulda, coulda, shoulda, all that. I get it. But, you got to remember, man, most of those games were at home that I'm talking about. So, yeah, when you looked at that schedule, Auburn should have won 8 games easily this year. They just should have, and they didn't do it. So now they got to clean it up. They got to fix it on the offensive side. The excuses are all gone now. There is no rebuild. Don't even use the word rebuild anymore, Randy, on this show or any other show. This ain't a rebuild, man. This is not a rebuild. Not when you stack rosters like this. You ain't rebuilding nothing. Now you got to coach. You need to coach. That's what you need to do. You need to take what you have and you need to coach them up on the offensive side of the football. I have no problems with DJ Durkin and what he's done. But you better coach up these guys on the offensive side, or you're not going to continue to get classes like this in the future, period. And you probably won't be here in the future if you can't coach them up.
Amen. And We're going to close out right here. I want to hit on a couple of sponsors, Brett, as we close out. Again, thanks for finding us. We'll be back on hopefully mid-afternoon to finalize some more recruits and to get you set for tonight. We didn't even have a chance. I mean, this is how big signing day is. Auburn plays Duke tonight. We're the number 2 basketball team in the country. A lot of us believe we should be the number 1 basketball team in the country. And we're on the road in Cameron Indoor Arena to play Duke tonight. That's the number 9 team in the country with the undoubtedly number 1 NBA prospect in Cooper Flagg tonight. So we'll talk a little bit about that this afternoon, Brett. We'll be on from 12 to 1 with the Auburn Blitz today, but we got a couple of great sponsors now for our podcast. One's Bunkers over in Auburn. It's on West Glen. A beautiful, beautiful facility. If you haven't been by Bunkers, please do. December the 13th, Brett, we'll be over to do our 12 to 1 Auburn Blitz television show from Bunkers. We'll have some great guests in with us that day, so make sure to stop by and see them. Sensa Green with our good friend Wade Bennett, now on as a podcast sponsor. They're really, really hot and heavy in the Lake Martin region. They've been strong already in Huntsville and the Lee County, Auburn Opelika area, but they're really looking to work into the Lake Martin area. So give Sensa Green a call, our good friend Wade Bennett, and then I'll close out with exactly where I'm sitting here in Dadeville, Alabama today with Lee Marketing Group, Lee Apparel Sign Source. If you've got advertising budgets you'd like to spend by the end of the year, we'd love to talk with you about some ideas from promos, printing, to custom tees and other customized apparel. Lee Apparel 256-825-0197 and Sign Source. We've got a brand new truck coming in that's going to have a 90-foot reach capability. So we're going to add some potential that we have there, but from design all the way to print production to installation, Sign Source can handle all. 256-825-0197.
All right, you got some other questions that we need to talk about here. So we got some good comments here. One of them, how many enrollees will be early out of these signees? I've got that right here. I knew that question would come up, Luke, and I've got it right here. Deuce Knight will be an early enrollee, which will be massive. Okay. He's going to be on campus in January. So that's a big, big deal. Jared Smith, Malik Altry, Anquan Fagans, Eric Winters, Caleb Fault, Jordan Crawford. If Donovan Starr sticks with Auburn, he can enroll in January. Antonio Coleman, Blake Woodby, Alvin Henderson, Hollis Davidson, Elijah Melendez, Broderick Shull. Majority of these guys are going to be able to come on in. That's where I'm going with this. So I can keep going. Ryan Gay, Bryce Dees, Devin Williams, Ty Buster, the punter. We didn't even talk about him, Randy, from Thompson. John Allen McGuire. Lord, we need a punter. And we're getting a good one there from Thompson there. And then you got some guys that'll be coming in May, like Derek Smith, Eric Smith, Khalil Ellis, some of those guys later on. But a majority of this class, guys, is going to be able to come in January. So big time stuff there. I mean, the earlier you can get these guys in and start working, they'll be here for the spring. I know it's a long shot. I haven't heard really much chatter about it, but you know, if Auburn is one of those 5 and 7 teams that gets called to take a bowl game, do you do that? Do you take that bowl game?
Oh, you do it. I mean, we all have an opinion on why you shouldn't, and I've seen enough football for this year, and let's just go back and prepare and get set for next year. But you can't make that decision. I mean, you got to take the practices. Right. You got to put these young guys out there. You got to make them compete. So we can talk all we want. Very poor decision, in my opinion, if you don't take it. Doesn't mean that I've enjoyed watching Auburn go to smaller bowl games and get whooped.
Who would quarterback that team?
Walker White.
That's what I'm saying. It'd have to be Walker White
and
or Hank Brown.
It's worth the game just for that.
Absolutely.
I mean, we're sitting here as excited as we possibly can be over Deuce Knight when the class that we got last year was led by Walker White that committed very early and went out there and closed the deal with a lot of guys, and he was the most vocal recruiter that we had as a recruit last
Absolutely.
year. So let's don't forget Walker White just because we go out and get Deuce Knight. I mean, you got to stockpile them because they're not going to all pan out. You got to get a bunch of options.
Well, it was apparent, you know, in the ULM game that he was the next guy off the bench. It wasn't Hank Brown. And we all kind of felt that was going to happen going into that game that week. So, again, if Auburn were to be a 5-win bowl team, because there's not enough 6-6, again, that's just speculation. You know, we've seen it, though, the last couple of years. These teams get called because they didn't have enough to fill. But Randy's right. I mean, you take the game and whoever it is that you're playing, you use that as an opportunity to get these guys some more practice, and then you get these early enrollees in too that are able to at least be around the program in January and be working out and doing things like that so they can get ready for spring. So, again, we're going to close out again here this morning. We've been on with you for a while. Auburn, we went through a lot of important signing ceremonies this morning, namely Deuce Knight here just a few minutes ago. Auburn gets their quarterback in this class. Some other big names. Obviously, they're all big names. Every kid on here that's scrolling across the bottom of the screen is big. But Fagans and Winters and Smith and Malik Altry and all those guys at the top of this class are huge. So, we're going to have some more they're going to be adding in over the rest of the morning. One coming up here in about an hour that we're all going to be watching is Naeem Alford at Parker High School, Randy. I'm sure he'll be signing with Jordan Crawford there. Right now, he's committed to Ohio State. There's where all eyes now have shifted for Auburn fans, is the next big name on the board that's not committed for Auburn right now is Naeem Alford, and they're hoping he flips.
And everybody keep in mind, keep saying it, it's Super 7 week. Brett and I are going to be working with AHSA radio network over the next 3 days, but a lot of those guys that you're hearing Brett talk about will be playing in championship games starting tonight. We got 3 Thompson High School commits this year, Brett, counting the punter. You want to watch those 3? Tune in. Phoenix City tonight taking on Thompson, 7 o'clock kick on the HSA radio network. And we've got over 20 radio stations here in the state, and we'll be providing some commentary going in and out and during halftime, so stay tuned in for all of that. But you just said Parker, Naeem Alford, Jordan Crawford. Brett and I'll have the call for the HSA on Friday night at 7 o'clock with that game, Parker. Really, really strong. The only loss that they had was to Juju Lewis in Carrollton, Georgia, a little bit earlier in the year, and they'll play an undefeated Saraland team that's got Antonio Coleman committed to Auburn, and hopefully we close the deal on him and have that name scrolling across the list when Brett and I come back this afternoon.
Yeah, by the way, we are playing a basketball game tonight.
We're going to talk about it this afternoon. We really need to spotlight that. It's a massive game.
Huge game. All right, guys. Again, thanks to everybody this morning. We'll be back with you hopefully this afternoon, depending on our schedules and what all we've got going on, but maybe a little later this afternoon to wrap up and see where Auburn ends up with this class. But it's been a really good morning so far. Been really, really good. Obviously, with Deuce Knight here just a few minutes ago, sealing the deal. All right, everybody have a great day, and we'll catch up with you a little bit later.